Hello, and welcome to today's webinar, OCRT e-learning series, part 1, how to incorporate in-conversion cotton into your preferred material strategy. Today's presentation will be recorded and sent out to all registered participants and also will be posted on the Hub. We will have a Q&A portion throughout the presentation. You can type your questions into the question box on the webinar doc. We might also ask you at the beginning to put some notes into chat, and that will be opened for that time and then closed, and we'll direct you to the Q&A doc. So now on to Sarah Thompson with Textile Exchange. Sarah?
Hello and welcome everyone from all across the world. So good morning, good afternoon and good evening, and a very warm welcome to this e-learning series on in-conversion cotton. I'm going to run through what you can expect from today in a minute, but first just on to some of the basic housekeeping admin. So in terms of Zoom, please could you update your Zoom name with your full name and your organization in brackets. There's an example there. And it would be great if you could introduce yourself in the chat box. It's so great to see there's so many of you here, and some of you will know each other, but some of you may be new. So please introduce yourself in the box. And then, as Rose just said, there'll be time for questions at the end, and also we'll endeavour to pick up any questions after the webinar as well that we didn't get to cover. So please type any questions that you have into the Q&A box. And as Rose said, the meeting's being recorded. Alice, next slide, please. And then our antitrust statement. So Textile Exchange convenes the textile community and values diversity of views, expertise, opinions, backgrounds, and experiences. It's expected that members of this community will collaborate by sharing ideas, information, and resources of publicly available information only, and avoid discussions on price, strategic plans, or other private and sensitive information. Next slide, please. So before we come on to the agenda then, just a quick reminder about who we are and what we do. The work of Textile Exchange is centered around our ambitious Climate Plus strategy. Next slide, please. So our mission is to inspire and equip people to accelerate the adoption of preferred materials in the textile value chain. And we focus on carbon reduction, soil health, water and biodiversity as part of our holistic approach to drive positive impact for the entire industry. And our intent over the next 10 years is to be a driving force for urgent climate action in textile fibre and materials production, specifically enabling and guiding the textile industry to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 45% by 2030. And that's in the pre-spinning phase of textile fibre and materials production. Next slide, please. Now, the Organic Cotton Roundtable is part of this strategy as it provides a platform for the organic community to come together as a catalyst for collective action and to incubate some great ideas. You may well be aware that we host an annual summit, regional summits, and lots of activities in between. We've got ambassadors in 7 regions with expert regional insight and connections to the local organic community. And we're proud that some of the leading initiatives in the industry today were born out of the OCRT. So for example, the Organic Cotton Accelerator, the Chetna Coalition, and more recently, the Organic Producer Directory, which we'll talk a bit about later. So currently, a key focus for the OCRT is in-conversion cotton, which is the topic for today's webinar. Next slide, please. Now, we've got a few polls during this presentation, as we'd love to hear from you. And the first one is to really get a sense of why you're here today. So we're going to be using Mentimeter. If you've not used Mentimeter before, you go to menti.com and use the code 4910082. And you just type in there, Alice has just put the link in the chat, so you could just click on that as well. Just type in there 1 or 2 words so we can get a sense of why you're here today and what you're hoping for from the session. So just feel free to add that in, and hopefully a beautiful word cloud will start to pop up. Learning and inspiration, those are 2 excellent words. I'm sorry that no one has appeared as a cat yet. That's what I often hope for from my Zoom webinars. Clarity, solutions, inspiration, great, some fabulous words there. Thank you. Please keep them coming. Now, onto the agenda, but actually, Alice, let's just keep this up for a moment. In a moment, I am just going to introduce Liesel, who's our Director of European and Materials Strategy, and Amish, who's our South Asia Manager, they're both going to set the scene for us with a bit of background to the current shortage of organic cotton and how in-conversion cotton fits into that picture. And for those of you who are joining us from North America, we're going to be talking about in-conversion cotton, which is the same as transitional. You probably heard those words used interchangeably, but they refer to the same thing. So after we've heard from Liesel and Amish, we're then going to hear some further updates from Amish on the organic content standard and some of the next steps, and also a spoiler for our next session where we'll be taking a deeper dive into different approaches to sourcing. And then at the end of today, we're going to have a time for a Q&A from the audience. So as I mentioned earlier, if you have any questions as they pop up as we're going through today, please put them in the Q&A section of Zoom, which you'll see down the bottom next to sandwiched between participants and chat. Okay, so great. Just a quick look at that Mentimeter. Learning is at the center of today, and I think we've got a very rich agenda for you. So I'm hoping that we can meet that expectation. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Liesel, and yeah, please add any questions that you have in the chat, in the Q&A. Thanks, Liesel, over to you.
Great. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you very much. And some really inspiring words in the word cloud. That's what we're all about today and every day is to inspire and equip you on your journey. So no better journey to talk about at the moment than the journey of in-conversion. So the way it's going to work now is I'm going to really just ask Amish, our expert on this topic, some questions, and we'll kind of go back and forth a bit. I'm in the lucky position of being the one that will be asking the questions. So while I do that, please feel free, as Sarah already mentioned, to start think of your own questions. We have Amish and many other experts in the room, including the GOTS team. So plenty of opportunity at the end of this conversation to really dig into some of your questions and thoughts. So Amish, here we go. I guess the first thing I wanted to say was, there's a shortage of organic cotton. Why aren't we jumping for joy, right? This is amazing. Here's a situation where the demand for organic cotton is really surfacing, and and the logic would be that would encourage supply. So on that note, Amish, tell us a little bit more about what really is going on here and why we should probably be a little bit concerned, or at least not quite jumping for joy at the moment, or at least not only jumping for joy, but thinking about other things.
Yeah, thanks, Lisa. Hi, everyone. This is Amish Gosai, working for Textile Exchange based in Bangalore, South Asia. I'm mainly handling the other activity also at Textile Exchange, but today I'm going to give more in-depth information and just
Sorry,
putting
Amish, I'm gonna quickly interrupt you to ask you to put your camera on because I can't see you.
I always stay
and if
from
we
camera,
lose connection, I'll turn mine off, but thank you. There you are.
Here you can find. Yeah. So, going back to, the question that you have asked, I totally agree. We cannot directly jump on a joy because there is a process, today, take example, what we are doing today, we are in this position because we have invested some time, in the back, which has resulted a good positive impact. So to understand what is going on in the market, we need to understand the full picture. If you take only one step, and see why there is a price increase, why there is a shortage of supply, why there is a high demand, it is not going to give you clear picture. So let me just give you, all the 4 key points, which is actual real impact on the current situation. So let's can go to next one. I do have animation for all of you. Here you can see at the center, we do have organic cotton. And there are a number of brands who used to buy organic cotton from number of years, let's say more than 10 years. You can see on a green at the top and at the bottom. They're buying cotton regularly. But over a period of time, there are certain brands, so they just started their journey that's represented in, let's say, in orange. They started buying in the last year, this year, and so on. So they used to buy the cotton in a regular interval. But what we have seen, especially in 2020, there are new brand came in a picture, especially what you can see in a gray box, in a gray color, brown color. They are very new brands, so they just started asking their suppliers to get certified, and they started inquiring about organic cotton in the market. And moreover, what we have seen, there are 2 or 3 big retailers. They never source organic, they never source any other prefer cotton or even prefer fiber and material till the last year, but they just recently joined on a pool to source more sustainable cotton, or let's say sustainable fiber in the industry. So here you can see the supply was almost similar from the number of years, but the demand, the buyer has increased. It's not only the brand perspective, but I can also walk you through the number of sites certified under the OCS over a period of time that also has increased. So what is a summary of demand is brands and retailers has increased their capacity. More and more brands are buying more and more sustainable cotton. One of them is organic cotton. At the same time, they have also realized that buying only organic cotton is not a solution, but buying in conversion cotton is also one step to reach their strategy. And at the same time, they have also realized sourcing only from one country is not going to solve the issue. They diversify sourcing from the different country, and that's actually coming as a demand in a bigger picture. This is
So
one of the key region. Yeah, please go ahead.
would you say in sort of summary to that, or at least one of the takeaways to that very clear picture that you were painting, would be that whilst it's probably easier for a brand to agree and change their strategy, and I'm not saying that can happen overnight, but possibly that can happen at a faster pace than, say, the demand signals and the supply base can respond. So in terms of responding to demand, especially if it's a big company, is going to be a time lag. That's one of the key takeaways I hear from you.
Yeah, definitely. And every brand has their own strategy. But what we have seen aggressively, especially in 2020 after COVID, despite of the COVID, there is a low sales, but still we have seen a huge demand from the brand perspective. And not only brand, but even the suppliers are also coming in that pool. But just keeping a supplier aside, because eventually their demand is going to be taken up by the brand. So if we just only focus on a brand, the demand has increased, not with the current, let's say, old brands, but new brands are coming, existing brands are increasing their own capacity. And as I said, there are 2 big brands are trying to source more sustainable cotton that is impacting a lot in the demand perspective. So that's the first. There is also direct impact. Yeah, Lisa?
I'm thinking about some of the supply risks and challenges that we have as well. Is that
definitely
on the next slide?
Yeah, that's on the next slide. So but as I said, there are 4 different key points. One is the demand, second is the supply. So last year also there are certain rules came up which is also impacting the demand and supply issue. So here I'm going to explain key 3 things that is actually really impacting the industry. The first one is Alice, can you click on the next one? Yeah. So here you can see, first one, everyone knows, but there was a US government has put a sanction on XPCC companies, as well as they have the WRIO list. And that is, saying, people, a lot of brands, they don't want to source cotton from this particular region, especially from Xinjiang. And now also they are more focused towards China. So, what we can see from our OCMR 2020, we have reported 17% cotton is available in China as organic out of total organic cotton. So if you're not buying from, let's say, from China, this demand is definitely going to put on some other countries. It can be go to India or any like Turkey or any country. So, you have the regular supply, and the people don't want to source from China. This demand directly come to India or any neighboring countries. So eventually, let's say,
just you've just spurred a thought in me too, as well as the very unsettling situation in China and the dynamics for the global market. Would you say the demand inside of China for more sustainable products and more organic fashion and that sort of thing might be growing as well? So therefore the market for the Chinese cotton, or Chinese organic cotton, maybe increasingly more difficult to move outside of the country.
Yeah, definitely. And that's also one more point. And it's not related only to China, but it also applies to India. I mean, I'm not sure how many brands knows about it, but especially the discussion that I am having, especially with the 17 local Indian brands, they also want to source more sustainable cotton. Now, that's totally new demand. Eventually, due to the COVID, they did not started the sourcing, or they did not came up with the plan. But let's say eventually next year or year after, they will also come on board, and that will also impact the supply of the market. So it has a direct impact. And the second point on a supply is one more thing. I mean, everyone knows GOTS and as well as Textile Exchange has released the official press release on the detection of fraud in India. It also has a negative impact on a supply, and that will also give more clarity why there is a shortage of the supply. The shortage of supply is not due to the removal of the fraud detection, but eventually people, or let's say supplier, will take advantage of the situation, because they think people are not buying from China, there was a fraud detection. Eventually people will say there is a shortage of
And
the
I
supply.
think, Amish, just thinking about how deep these conversations are, and knowing that we have got some material on both China and the fraud situation, I'm wondering about cost and what's going on with price at the moment. And if you could speak a bit to that, it's always on the top of people's minds.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the third point. Once demand, supply, and then one of the part in a supply chain shortage is one more the capacity building, which is a lack. What I have seen, especially in the country like India and other surrounding region, that also has an impact. And the third key point is cost. So Alice, can you go to the next one? So here instead of going in more deep about organic cost, so let me just give you some basic number. What you see here is just cotton production from 1920 and 2021. You can see there is a decline of the cotton production, but at the same time, if you see the price, let's compare the price of Kotlook, which is a trading platform. As trading prices, if you see this year we have 98.5 cents per pound as a price, and the same material was having a cost of 74 cents point 30. Yeah. So if you see the price increase in a cotton within a 1 year is a 32%, despite of the COVID. So people are anticipating there is a low demand of the cotton because people are not buying a garment. But if you see the price are increasing even for the cotton. So of course, organic will have a different impact. If we also compare if people are not well known about yarn, let's say fiber price. So what we have done, we have also compared the yarn count price. What NE30 is very commonly used yarn count globally by most of the brands and retailer for knitting products. So even if you see the 3.7 to 2.7 within a 1 year, which is $1 increase in price, which is 36%. So if you see the ratio, proportionate ratio of fiber to yarn is almost proportionating, and it is giving you direct impact that despite of COVID, the price has increased for a cotton. At the same time, if what we have explained right now is there is a demand has a limitation, there is a supply has a limitation, and it will also go alongside. So if you see cotton price plus organic price, of course you will see a higher price on a market. And the next table, what you can see is about OCS certified side, organic content standard. Within a 1 year, what you can see, we have seen 55% increase. So it's not only the brands are saying they are buying more material, but suppliers are also getting certified a lot. So within 1 year, if we see 55% increase in a site, 32 to 36% the cotton fiber price increase, it has a direct impact on the organic price as well because of demand and supply. So all these parameters are linked to each other. And there is one more, Lisa, it's not only the price. Price also has one more key factor, which is how you source your product. So that is on the next slide. Alice, can you go to the next one? So what we have seen, especially on a cotton segment, or let's say, there are only two countries, China and India, are producing almost 40 to 45% of global cotton. And if we talk about organic cotton, India produces 52% and China produces 17%. And US government came up with some norms, and the way brands are sourcing, what we have seen, everyone favorite area is only India. They only look for organic cotton in India. They don't touch other countries like US, Latin America, other continent, Africa, Central Asian countries. And if your focus area is only India, Of course, the price will increase because everyone is only looking in. The people are not sourcing from a different region. So your sourcing strategies also makes a wide impact. How you
So
source, what is the
would you,
price?
yeah, would you say, given a lot of these dynamics, and obviously some of them are kind of conventional, if you like, supply, demand, and those responses that will flex and flux a bit, but in some ways we're in a potentially in a perfect storm if we want to look at this, I guess, optimistically and kind of ambitiously to what we can do as an industry. There's more of a reflection, and I think many on this call will have noticed from what you're reading and what you're seeing from your customer analytics is the demand is growing for more sustainable products, materials, fashion, you name it. The market is turning. We're reflecting on that. I think that's kind of as a given, as is climate change and some of the risks in terms of supply and availability and securing that supply. So Amish, would you say it's a perfect time to start to think about how to diversify and how to expand into that pre-certification stage and start building supply security and scaling the availability of organic?
Yeah, I mean, this is right.
Question?
Of course, I mean, it has a number of answers, and if I divide into different section, then every section has their own meaning. So but sourcing strategy, that's where I always start. What you want to source, that defines the price, that defines availability, that also defines the next future steps, and that also directly impacts on the today's topics. Why in conversion is also impact, and here what you can see, the risk, why these risks are too important, because if whenever you see demand, not on the only on this commodity but any commodity, higher the demand and low, so if you have less supply, that means it will have a huge risk, shortage of supply. It will increase the cost of the product, not only at the farmer gate, but it also in a supply chain, also for the consumer. And one of the key thing that I have seen, everyone is worried about fraud, and main part, for especially for certified material, if you don't use full chain of custody, then the probability of fraud is always higher, and that is the key point.
I mean,
it's not because of standard.
Yeah, I mean, on that note, I know you're going to take a deep dive into that. So let's maybe, I think there's just one more question I wanted to ask you about, which was really, I think, on the next slide to start introducing in conversion. If there's I'll talk a little bit to Carlotta's drawing, and then I'll hand it back to you. I think it's the next slide. Thanks. For those that haven't seen this, it's obviously a very simplistic version of this this direction of travel that many of you will hear from Textile Exchange a lot. And I think, we're in this incredible place in time of what I would almost, ambitiously call, this common ground. We're looking at lots of what we might have originally called organic practices. So whether that's, things like rotation and intercropping, biomass strips, or agroforestry, looking at mulches, looking at rotation, winter crops, low till, all these more sustainable solutions are really infiltrating into conventional for many, many reasons that we could spend an hour on. But of course, we want to start tipping that, if you like, pre-organic, more sustainable solutions into something that starts to funnel into our organic cotton availability, where we can build up that kind of community of practice that will be feeding organic cotton into all your supply chains, or at least all the brands on this call. So if you haven't seen this beautiful version by Carlotta, who does a lot of our visual recordings, it's obviously in the deck for you. And I think, Amish, on the next slide, if you could, just give us a kind of a more structured look at that journey.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks,
in
Lisa.
30 seconds or less.
Of course. I mean, you already created a ground for me. So, what you have seen, you have farming practices, and over a period of time, people have moved from, let's say, organic practice to the chemical practices. But let's take example, as a farmer, if I'm a farmer and if I want to convert myself into the organic, first I will start practicing any of the organic farming standard based on the country. Let's say if I'm India, then I have to must need to follow NPOP certification. Along with that, if my final end is in US, then USDA. So from the very first day, as a farmer, I need to start using USDA, European Union, or let's say Indian or Chinese standard. And on year 1, year 2, year 3, it's a part of the organic certification. But for these first 3 years are called in conversion time to the organic, which is not additional certification, but it is still a part of organic certification. And once the land is free from pesticide, for synthetic fertilizers, from GMO, then my land will certified as organic. So let's take an example of the upcoming season. So for India, if I'm farmer, if I decided I want to go for organic certification on the June, I will going to plant June 2021. 2022 is second year conversion, 2023 is the third year conversion, and the fourth year, December, January 2024, 2025, I'm going to deliver a product as a organic. Right. So here you can see, is a first stepping stone. If you don't follow this process, you cannot convert your land into organic. So it is not additional certification, it is part of organic certification.
Part of that. And would you say brands and anybody interested in organic really needs to start thinking about that that scaling and expansion model and looking back to year 1 and below? I see Sarah's come back into the picture, and I'm thinking we're wanting to keep a bit to time. There's such a rich conversation, and I can see questions popping up into the Q&A and what have you. But maybe on that point, Amish, I know you're the star of the show in the next section, so I'll turn my camera off and hand you back to Sarah.
Thank you very much, Liesl, and thanks both for that great conversation. And yeah, as you said, Liesl, it's a very rich discussion, and there's so many different angles and elements to explore. So thank you for giving us that some initial thought starters there and some of the detail. But yes, let's go straight back to Amish to give a bit of an update on the organic content standard. And there's many things that need to happen to support the in-conversion journey, and some of which have been touched upon. And as the Organic Cotton Roundtable, we're committed to trying to facilitate a number of these. But one of the first concrete steps that we can take as Textile Exchange is to look at how our own standards can support the journey. And so that's why Amish is going to give us this update on what we're doing with the organic content standards. So back to you, Amish.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. So can you go to next one? So before, I give an update about organic content standard in detail, first of all, we need to understand the certification procedure, because that's where people always get confused. So what we have done right now here on your screen, you can see on left-hand side, there is a farm. Farm must need to be certified under any of IFOAM family of the standard. It can be USDA, European Union, NPOP or GB, which is Chinese standard. Once farm is certified, farm will receive a scope certificate, which is a license, which gives more information about crop, how much quantity, and period of the validity of the scope. And then there is a transaction from the farm to a trader, and then trader to supply chain certification starts. So here you can see on your right hand side, after trader, first point of entry is ginning for a cotton, and from ginning to the government, the full supply chain is certified under OCS, or it can be a number of combination like GOTS plus OCS, or fully as a GOTS. So both are separate. So farm are certified for the IFOAM family of standard, and supply chain is certified under the textile standard, such as organic content standard, as well as global organic textile standard, GOTS. Both are separate organization and handling the same material flow with different principle and goal of the standard. The next one. The next slide is going to explain more information about in conversion, because people do have questions regarding what is in conversion, how it is different, how people can make such claims and so on. So what we have done, Textile Exchange has just released one dedicated page about in conversion. So I will urge everyone to go to that page. The link is available on a chat function. You can understand the basics of in conversion to organic cotton. You can also see, on the right hand side, there is a screenshot and comparison between the OCS as well as GOTS. like, what is a chain of custody, what is the input, what kind of claims are allowed, what kind of blend and mixing is possible, and what kind of verification is possible, as well as what are the resources available for the each standard. So this is available on Textile Exchange website. Next one. Going back to the standard was allowing in conversion as an input, but we have recently come up with exemption to the OCS content standard, means organic content standard, OCS. The key changes are OCS, gene has to be certified into OCS, and gene will accept any of the iPhone family of the standard. It can be year 1, year 2, year 3 as an input. We do have dedicated templates so the industry can identify organic transaction certificate and in conversion transaction certificate. What we are also collecting and having a full traceability about farm. So farm or group of farm or any ICS holder need to submit the audit report for a first year and a scope certificate of the farm, because for a first year there won't be a transaction certificate. So that these two information, audit report and the scope certificate, is sufficient for a year 1, and year 2, year 3 we are going to ask scope certificate as well as a transaction certificate. What we have changed, one more thing, is about the claim. So I'm going to walk you through the more information about claim, but the product claim is not allowed, but however general marketing claims are allowed. Alex, can you go to one slide back? Yeah, here. So here you can see, if we only talk about certification, there is one more question that we have received a lot from the industries. Is there is additional certificate for a supply chain? And the answer is no. Existing OCS certified sites can accept the in conversion cotton and can deliver output as an in conversion product. So input is organic, then output is organic. If input is in conversion, then output is also in conversion cotton. And there is no additional certification cost at all for a supply chain. Existing OCS sites can be used for in conversion chain of custody. Next one. The next information is more about the claim. So here you can see, we are not allowing on product claim at the moment. We are not also allowing a general marketing claim with a combination such as OCS logo and say the OCS in conversion, organic transition, organic in transition. However, we do allow general marketing claims with the suggested languages. At the moment, these are the still suggested, but you can have similar language on your web page or on a general marketing or in a store, and you can say this product is made out of in conversion cotton. So what you can see on the right hand side, there are certain suggested claims like contains in conversion or transitional cotton. We are committed to source 100% of our cotton from in conversion source by 2025 XYZ. Can be such claims can be allowed with this chain of custody. The next one. The next is more about, let me just give you some example how the brands are already started using it, or they already use in conversion in their communication strategy. Also as a chain of custody, they are not doing on product claim, but they already started. So on, you can see the one example from Allen Fisher, they do call transition to organic. One example from Patagonia, cotton in conversion. And at the bottom, you can see the example from Arm Angels. They are also saying, convert to the organic cotton. So they start buying this product. They put it in a supply chain with a chain of custody and use it in a supply chain. So these are the few examples. Any brand can come up with a similar example with a chain of custody, which will help you to adopt in conversion uptake within a current year. The next one. There is always one more exact dates are given on the current assumptions, because we want to come up with a foolproof. And let's say, when I say foolproof, means inbuilt solution in a standard. And what we are trying to do is we have given a one cutoff date. The cutoff date is more important for the first point of entry, which is ginning. Alice, can you go to the next one? And here you can see, your first point of entry, once farm is certified to in conversion or organic, it's a ginning. So this cutoff date, July 31st, is for a ginning. So ginning must need to accept the material from the farm on or before July 31st. After that, we are not going to accept any in conversion material for this harvest. When the harvest is done, what we are trying to do is we are going to collect the feedback and put it back into organic content standard as a full system. And once it is available, then in the next harvest, which starts in the October 2021, it will be always inbuilt. So first point of entry has a limitation at the moment, but going forward, the limitation will be removed once it is a part of the standard. The next one. Here you can see, there are some questions asked by the brand. We have just put it here so that you guys also can understand. So there are a number of questions asked. Can I sell a product in North America under OCS? And answer is yes. With the current exemptions, it is possible. Can I label a product as a OCS in conversion? As I said, in the product claim, we don't allow, as well as OCS plus in conversion wording is also not allowed. What about transaction certificate? As I said, we do have a dedicated transaction certificate template which will identify in conversion organic products separately. So for brands and supplier, it's easy for understanding. Validity, as I said, the first point of entry is July 31st, because after that the ginning won't operate. But once the material is already certified to OCS as a fiber, yarn, fabric, or garment, that product remains valid for a lifetime. And what is the next step? As I said, what we are trying to do till the July 31st to capture the more information, understand, analyze, and make a report. And we are planning to we are going to present the same report to Organic Content Standard International Working Group, so that we can incorporate the finding as a part of the standard, as a permanent solution in a standard. The next one. I think that's end of the OCS update, and we have next session on this one. Sarah, back to you.
Thank you, Amish, and an extra gold star for you for catching up with some time. So thank you for that. Thank you very much for that whistle-stop run through of what's happening with OCS. And you will have hopefully seen, everyone who's listening in the chat, there's various links that have been posted to further information. And you can always get in touch with us if you have any questions as well. So now on then to recommendations on how to secure a reliable supply of organic and in-conversion cotton. Next slide, please, Alice. And I am actually going to hand back to poor Amish to just talk a little bit through some of the production and projection data that we've got.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what you can see here is, most of the report we starting from 2010 till 2019. The last three figure, what you see is more like projection and forecasted data. These data are still not finalized, but for this webinar, we have analyzed all this information. We have asked information to the farm group as well as government body to give us some idea of how this demands are supplies are increasing over a period of time because of demand. So if you see, we are in the season of we have almost finished 2019-20 season. But the data is still not finalized from a textile exchange perspective, but still, for your information, is a 100,000 metric ton of lean cotton is available, already used in a supply chain as a organic in that particular year. Current season is still in the process, so it will be hopefully going to end in the June. And by then we will have more clear data. But if we see, the number of what it is coming up, it's not more than 300,000 metric ton of lean cotton. So even in the next year, it is not going more than that. So if we see the demand has some number. Now, if we also think about, what we need to do next is about the projection. The projection cannot be changed overnight. So as I have explained, to convert land into the organic, we need 3 years. So if we start something in 2020, we will get organic by 2024, not before that. So I strongly urge to build the demand. We have built the demand, but we have not built the capacity. So to build the capacity, we need to work on the actual forecasting. We need to work on what is my strategy, how much cotton I want to source as organic. If your focus is only organic, it's not a sustainable solution. You need to also source in conversion, because you need to support first 3 years, because if you don't, there are chances people will start cultivating in conversion cotton, but they won't turn themselves into organic because there is no demand. And that's one of the reasons what you can see from 2020 to 2022 data. the maximum increase is not more than 20,000 metric ton of lean cotton. The variation is still small. So it also has a direct impact on your sourcing practice. Whether you want to source only organic, there is the least chance that we will build a capacity over a period of time. But if we start sourcing in conversion, give the clear signal, we will buy in conversion, we will buy organic, grow more, that will give a clear signal to the farm groups to build their capacity. And what you can see on your right hand side, the top corner, these are still estimated data, but what we have seen after having discussion with a lot of farm group, at the moment globally in 2021, we have seen minimum 26,000 metric ton of lean cotton available as an in conversion. Maximum is 45. Why there is a range? Because still the data are not verified. This is a self-reported data that we have received. And if we talk about 2021 and 2022, people are not planning more in conversion if there won't be a demand. So it starts with 2,500 and goes maximum 65,000 metric ton of lean cotton. So here you can see, we need to work on a demand. And back to you, or Sarah, on that demand.
Well, I was
part.
just going to say that, yeah, that point about needing to be clear about what the demand is segues very well into the next slide. So Alice, could you flick us on, please? And so we're going to be doing some demand forecasting surveying. So there'll be a link sent out in the chat, but we really want to do a stakeholder survey to better quantify what the demand is for organic cotton. And that's important because obviously for all the reasons that Amish just covered, and to really get a much better picture of what's actually happening and what we need to do in order to really drive that change. So yeah, the links in the chat. We'd love it if all of you could respond to that. We'll gather the data and report it back in the next few months. I think early May is where we're aiming for. Next slide, please. So then, in terms of a rather busy slide here, in terms of steps to secure a reliable supply of in-conversion organic cotton, if only it could all be fitted onto one slide. Now you'll see here we've got some top takeaways for you, but also to say that we won't, I'm just going to touch upon them now, but we are going to cover this in a future webinar series. So we'll take a much deeper dive into how you can really, the different models that you could look at for sourcing in conversion and organic cotton. So some things to think about: source directly and make a forward commitment. That's a really key thing to do. Get support from organisations and companies working on the ground with producer groups. And right here, I'd like to give a shout out to, especially to Organic Cotton Accelerator, to Cotton Connect, the Sorcery. There's loads of amazing organisations out there who are working to really do this. So if you don't know who they are, then have a look in our organic market report from 2019. There's a list in there, but also please feel free to get in touch with us and we'll link you up with those working in different regions. Buying in conversion cotton, as has been explained today, it's a really key part of organic. And if you're thinking from the perspective of, well, is in conversion delivering on targets maybe related to carbon, water and biodiversity? Yes, because it's on that journey to organic. So a lot of the practices, organic, from day one of conversion, farmers have to be working to organic principles. So you're still getting a lot of those benefits from the first day, but it's not until the conversion period is completed that all of those practices are fully integrated and you've got a full organic system set up. Ensure that farmers are certified to a standard so that you can really be guaranteed that what you're getting is what is said that you're getting. Also think about different sourcing geographies and models. We talked a bit about today how the focus tends to be on India and China, but there's lots of other places in the world where organic cotton has grown and grown successfully. Help Textile Exchange enable the industry to plan for expansion. So please help with by telling us what your demand is, and to help us develop those insights so that we can share and really start to catalyze some of that change. And then you'll hopefully know that we produce an annual organic cotton market report to give you some an update on the global production data and the regions and the forecast. So keep an eye out for that. And of course, if you're all here today, you're part of the Organic Cotton Roundtable, but please join and please engage with the Organic Cotton Roundtable and our community hub, where we can continue the conversation about moving the needle on organic cotton and using in-conversion to do that. Next slide, please. So I'd just like to, nice surprise slide for you here, Amish, I just ran through quite a quick list there. So Amish, could you just give your top takeaways for those listening today, what they need to do now and for next season, if you had to just summarize it quickly?
Yeah, definitely. So, right now we are month of March and people are already buying organic products. So to meet their own target, I strongly urge, people to buy organic cotton as well as in conversion cotton. And also, find a way to work with a supplier or directly with a farm group or implementing partner to secure a supply. Because if you have their original, or let's say, old technology, or let's say old way of sourcing a material, it won't work. And that is one of the reasons why brands are facing issue on sourcing organic cotton. Because if you just take a phone call and call the garment factory, can you give me XYZ as organic? It is not going to work out. It's a different commodity. That's a short-term solution. When I say short-term, till the June of this year. And next season, I strongly urge to secure your supply. You need to work on key 3 things. One, work on your sourcing strategy, redefine how you want to source a material, the area of likely geographic location, both organic in conversion cotton, as well as volume. Try to find a way of direct sourcing. Making one of the key point that I want to focus this in this is make a forward commitment. Why it is important? Just give you a simple example. What we have learned, especially from this season, is there are certain brands who have made a forward commitment in the June of last year. They have received the organic cotton in this season at a lower price compared to any other organic product available in the market. So forward commitment will really going to pay off you. They will give you low price, they will give you security on a supply. And the last but not least, which is very important, please, and make sure that you buy as much as close to the farm. If you're not able to buy from a farm, still fine. Try to buy from a ginning. If the ginning is still difficult for you guys, okay, still buy from the spinning unit. So try to buy as much as possible to the raw material. Just don't buy garment. Try to buy fabric, try to buy yarn, try to buy fiber, and so on. Even if you cannot buy directly, figure out a way to work with your supplier, and supplier will buy and keep a stock on behalf of brands and retailers. So these are the 3 things that will help in the next season for a brand to work on or securing a supply chain, not only for brands and retailers, but this is also applicable for all suppliers in the supply chain.
Great, thank you, Amish. And so now we've just got a little bit of time for Q&A, but I've seen we have got loads of great questions. We're definitely not going to be able to get through all of them today. I'll pick on a couple of the questions, but we will answer the rest of them and post them in the hub. But before we go on to questions from the audience, I would just like to invite Lena from GOTS to give a bit of a perspective on the approach that GOTS has taken to this topic, because obviously it's very important to hear from you as well. So Lena, please, can you give us a quick update, please?
Thank you very much, Sarah. I will make it short. As for the labeling, GOTS allowing organic cotton conversion, organic and conversion from the very beginning. It's really the same procedure as Amish described. So GOTS is a processing standard requiring IFO family of standards, and those production standards that do allow for organic cotton in conversion are accepted within GOTS. I've already updated in the chat section a quick information on our servers, on our database, where you can find suppliers. Currently, there are roughly 16 GOTS certified suppliers that already are certified and do sell organic in conversion. And now great news is that also found a brand that is already selling a finished product certified organic and conversion. We put up more information on this on our website. And yeah, if you have more questions, I will leave it at that. Please let me know.
That's great, Lena. And you may have done already. I'm sorry if I haven't seen it, but could you just leave a link in the chat so that people can navigate their way to the right section of the GOTS website? Thank you. Okay, so then the questions from the floor. Oh, so many excellent, juicy ones. Okay, let's start with a question from Hannah Lavon. How hard is it to get cotton directly from the farmer to get all the information you need for sourcing checklists? Does it always have to be through the yarn producer? So Amish or Liesl, are you able to respond to that one, please?
Yeah, I can give a quick input and Amish can follow up because I think it's a really great question. And the short answer is there are a number of equally constructive ways to engage with growers, ranging from directly at the source, working with the cooperatives if they're smaller companies, through the, if you like, the key aggregator, so you get some of those efficiencies there, through to third party connectors, whether it's groups like Cotton Connect or OCA or others, that traders that are working sensitively within those more farmer friendly business models. So yeah, getting back to farm is definitely possible. Equally, working with your yarn supplier or your vertically integrated supplier, depending on how you're connecting to your supply chain, and making sure that everybody is aligned with your interests and needs and priorities to support farmers in their growth into conversion. Amish, anything else to add?
No, I think you have covered very well. And one more answer that I have for all the audience is, nothing is very hard. It's not because I never practice, because I have practiced such sourcing practices. You can source from the farm. Only thing, how you make connection. The simple answer is we do have organic cotton producer directory available on Textile Exchange website. So, there you can find the farmer contact information. So do use that resource. It's really helpful. And I will also thank here OCA, because that was jointly developed especially for India. Funding came from both organizations, and we have developed it for that exhibit. Next, about sourcing practices, I will say please do join us on the next webinar that we will have, e-learning series 2, which is more on the sourcing practices and different solutions. That's where you will get most of your answer.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I've been typing away manically trying to answer some questions, Sarah, but I've worked down the list, and I'm sure there's lots of great ones further down as well.
Yeah, so actually we've only really got time for one more, and this is an interesting one. So this is from Mona. Is it realistic to provide enough organic cotton within the next many years? So that, in a way, is about a vision. So yeah. What's both of your vision? Can we do it?
Yeah, I think I typed a very quick answer back to that, to say, it just how exciting it is that we've got this momentum and this interest and this really, as they say in English, the penny's dropping, or whatever, that we're seeing the benefits here, the regenerative characteristics of organic agriculture, and looking at ways to grow it. It's not going to happen if we're all diving in on a limited supply, particularly if we're biasing one country only. That's not going to do anyone any good. How we organize as a sort of ecosystem of supporters and organizations and companies that want to source organic, and how we approach this to ensure geographical diversity and benefits that are farmer-centric and obviously ecosystem-centric as well, for the soils, the biodiversity, the climate, etc., and how we really package and make a real strong strategy, business model for the in-conversion years, I think is really going to be key. How important it is to have have the organic label on the final product, which of course we all know it is, but how do we make it equally as important to support those years of movement towards that position? You guys in the marketing teams here, help. We need your great brains to think about how to really push that message out.
Great, thank you, Lisa. And just as you were talking then, I was just thinking that, we need to kind of move from thinking about things in purely transactional ways to much more relational ways. And, that's really going to have to be a feature of the future. And that's also why the Organic Cotton Roundtable is here, is to create that convening space and to be able to have those conversations across brands, farmers, and everything in between. So I'm sorry that we haven't got time for any more questions, apart from we now have some questions back to you, those listening. We've got a few Mentimeters for you. So Alice, could you please put up the first one? We'd like to just get a sense of how you're feeling about in-conversion cotton. So compared to before you joined this webinar, how likely are you to consider sourcing or working with in-conversion cotton? So with it's a slider, so slide it along. Are you less likely or more likely? And I'm very happy to see it's sliding closer to more likely than less likely. That is excellent. Great. So it's on a scale. I'm actually not quite sure how that scale works out, but the fact that the line seems to be going towards more likely is extremely positive. So that is great. Now the next Mentimeter, and I'm sorry to be rushing through these, but I don't want to delay you at the end of top of the hour. So what would you like to know more about? And this question is really so we can make sure that we're providing you with the information and resources that you need. So it's an open question. What do you need to help with the journey for sourcing more organic cotton? Do you want more updates on standards? Do you want to know about marketing claims? Do you want to know about the how-to of sourcing in conversion cotton? Now, maybe for some of these things, the Organic Cotton Roundtable itself can't deliver them, but we can put you in touch with people that can. So great. We've got some great points coming up here. Some about communication and marketing, some about certification and sourcing, and then also some questions about more practical things relating to how you actually carry out the farming practices. So we'll have a good look through those and respond accordingly. And then we have one last Mentimeter, which is one word to sum up how you're feeling at the end of today's session. Now, you can say anything, just a word. Hopefully it's not exhausted. Hopefully it's something more positive, inspired, informed. We've got great, more sustainable, positive, great, excellent. If you are feeling something negative, please feel free to add it. All feedback is good feedback. But really great to see some really brilliant words there, and that it seemed to have been useful for you. We will be Liesel's just popped back on. Liesel, do you
on the strength of this this energy coming through the word cloud, I thought I'd pop back up.
Great, that's always excellent. But yeah, just to reiterate that we will be doing future webinars in this. You'll have seen it's first in a series. It's a topic we want to dive into deeper, and we really want to support the community in growing more organic cotton and seeing that scale in line with our Climate Plus strategy. So any final words from Amish and Liesel before we wrap up for the day?
No, mine is very simple. I mean, we have seen how much supply is available. Please do participate on the demand survey, because if we don't know the demand number as a textile exchange, we cannot pass on this information to the farm group, because what answer that I'm replying over a chat, they all are asking about where is the supply, meaning you have no idea where the farmer exists, but we do have. So participate in the demand survey. So we will understand your demand. We are planning to finish before end of the next month. So, I can take this number, we can go to a farmer and explain them, this is a demand, how much you can increase with your current capacity. So they will increase their capacity, and that will help industry to, meet the demand and supply in a longer run. So demand. please do participate.
So the really pragmatic and I think excellent last word. And I'll just add, there were so many fantastic questions, and I particularly like Prama Bhardwaj's question about how we share what's available and how we keep investing as a kind of community, which is sort of fascinating. My brain is turning over. I would love that question, possibly others, to enter the hub dialogues, because I thought that was extraordinary thinking, as always, Prama, and would be very interested to know what others thought as well.
Great. So with that, we will continue the conversation on the hub, and please get in touch with us if you have any specific questions. We've got a whole team of experts from around the world who are here to support you and to work together on this. So thank you very much for everyone attending. It's been brilliant to have so many of you on today. And thank you very much to Amish and Liesl and to Lena for giving us your wisdom, and we'll look forward to seeing all of you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you to our speakers. And thank you for participating in today's webinar. As a friendly reminder, an email will be sent to all registered participants with a link to today's presentation. That concludes our webinar. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.